I'll hit
This
record.
meeting is being recorded.
And
I
then
think,
it says you just have to request to record, and then I can give you permission to record or whatever.
how do I request to record? Let's see.
It should be where it says or tools or something like that, or
Let's see. More request to record. There we go. I
just,
think you
just
have to go
oh
to the
yeah, I got
top.
it. Your content is being sent to a third party. Okay, is it letting you?
Not yet. I think you have to go on the top three dots on the corner of my page, of my box, and then
Okay,
make me co-host.
okay. It's just saying make host. I don't
Hmm.
know. Um, Wait, how do I do this? I can make you host, but then will that like stop my recording or whatever, or will that?
I don't know, to be honest. But do you have a way to just send me a copy?
Yeah, I can send you a copy after we're done. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll just do that. Hey
Okay.
guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. I'm really excited about my guest today. Today I have with me Dr. Sharnael, doctor, similar to like Dr. Kim McGeorge or Dr. Karen McDonald. I think Karen's a naturopathic nurse, but she's in that realm. She knows, and she also has another book on I believe on keto. But she also has a really cool YouTube page where she has a lot of followers, and she's basically she has almost the same amount as me. She has like 16,000 followers, and she's talking about a lot of the same stuff like conspiracies and near death experiences and the age of Aquarius and energy work and angels and plant medicine and yeah. So I want to give her a big warm welcome to the show, Dr. Charnel. Thanks so much for coming on my show for the first time. How are you?
Thank you so much, Robert. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us about yourself. So how did you get started in the naturopathic field? Like, was it, or did you? So obviously you have like an interest in all this stuff, right? Like, did you have like, were you psychic? Besides the health stuff, I'm talking about like paranormal wise. Like, did you have paranormal experiences as a kid, or were you psychically inclined that like made you into like different all these different topics?
I had an encounter at 4 with Jesus, and my parents did not go to church. No one in my family went to church. I am not a religious person at all. I don't. I did end up going to Bible school and seminary because I thought that was the only way for me to follow the path of spirituality at the time.
Yeah,
I just had no. I wanted to be in service for some,
yeah.
um, so when I went through that route, I ended up having to deprogram a lot of the things that were programmed and or that I bought into. Not no offense if anybody is on that path, like totally fine. Everybody starts, everyone's where they are, and there's a lot of benefits to all the things. But as far as intuition, I've always had a lot of dreams. I've had different encounters. I've had some really crazy things like bilocating. I have missing 8 hours of time and
Wow, really?
had some things happen. I've been able to like bring things back that were lost and just I don't even know what you call that. But just using frequency and um, different things. I've had some encounters with, I don't know if they were angels or aliens or, something off planet, but I've had several of those where they kind of shifted the entire path for me, telling me to do certain things and bringing me knowledge of, formulas and calculations and understanding of the biofield and quantum physics and some things that were just like had no idea anything about. And then all of a sudden it was like I just knew all these things. And I wrote it all down in one of the books that you mentioned as my latest, The Science of Miracles. And there's just all kinds of information and formulas and things that once I had it and wrote it, I had to like look up to see if I was even right about what I knew. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. And so it's funny because I'm not an artist, but I did my best to like draw some of the things about the field and draw some of the formulas that were given to me. I have this other one about co-creating and some formulas there about echo waves and standing waves and, how to build and create a future in a different timeline. I teach about like frequency hopping and, just a lot of things.
What's frequency hopping?
So, when we all have equations in the field, plus or minuses, there's symbols, there's colors. Our field, when I speak about the field, I'm talking about our biofield, our aura, our electric belt. There's a lot of different, what do you call it?
I guess the aura,
The
but
aura.
I've also heard it called the biofield because so many people use genius biofeedback now. Like, I've done a lot of shows with Dr. Kim McGeorge back in the day, or not back in the day, but I mean, like, I don't do them as much anymore. And then I was doing shows with Karen McDonald too, and they both use the genius biofeedback.
I do too. I use it too. I love
Yeah,
biofeedback.
and because of that, I call it the biofield because it's like the biofeedback, biofield. I don't know, like.
Yeah.
Do you like the Genius?
I love biofeedback. I love that you could do it remote. I love that it actually works. I work on people in Australia and Canada and across the country and across the world. And literally my co-host on my podcast had some shoulder issues and I started working on him. And, with the time change and him being in the UK, like I have a private practice. And so I had a patient come in, I had to, work with her. So I had to turn off his, and literally he texts me on WhatsApp and he's like, "Hey, did you just turn that off?" Like he immediately felt that had stopped because he had some stuff. So, anyway, but biofield, going back to that, biofield, they call it biofield because it has a dual purpose, bio meaning two, and it radiates out, but it also magnetizes back in. So there's this, constant like torrid of information coming out and coming in and coming out and coming in, and it just sort of does this all day long. Just like the earth has a biofield, plants, animals, we all have this field that goes around, but it's also going like this. And so yeah, we can shift things based on what we're thinking, feeling, talking about, what our belief systems are. If we have negative equations in the field and we can clear them, whether it's ancestral or just programming, then you're going to have more positive equations in the field, which will magnetize more positive things to you, whether it's like partnership or love or abundance or a new job or new people, new friends, or, whatever the situation, resources, things like that. So that's why I love biofeedback, is like we can do diagnostics and see kind of like what's in the field and what do we need to clear, and then we calculate and customize frequencies specific to that person and their situation, whether it's physical, mental, electronic, fungus, emotions, whatever, and then send back those customized frequencies per that person and start clearing things and give them, a boost and like help them get some momentum in their life.
Yeah, I would almost like you to work on my liver for me. I was having like a liver issue that was like it was like the mainstream medical said it was fatty liver. They did all kinds of tests on me. They couldn't find anything. And then what was interesting is I started taking Tudka, which is like it's bowel salts. It's like a bowel for like so whatever that does, it went in there and it took away the pain. But plus, I was also getting a lot of energy work too. My friend Selena, who's in the chat now, she does energy work, and then my friend Priscilla does energy work, and another woman, Eve Howard, too. They were all doing energy work on me. Everybody was trying to help me because what was where was the pain? I know it sounds great, but like so, like the pain like came 3 months after a breakup, and then.
Oh,
And I felt like it was very connected to anger and triggering because, like, when I would get angry or triggered, I would feel it in there. You know what I mean? It almost like I could feel it instantaneously. But now, like, I've seemed to like got it a little bit under control. Like, it's starting to hurt a little bit, but I think that's because I ran out of the Tudka. But then what I was thinking is, I wonder if I can just fix it completely, like, so I don't have to rely on the supplement or whatever or constant energy healings. You know?
yeah, yeah. No, I love energy healing, and you're right, it does work. I would suggest a liver cleanse. A lot of people, if you do a liver cleanse, like where stones come out, if you are 30 years old and you haven't had a liver cleanse where stones come out, you can have up to 2,000 stones in your liver which makes it really hard to create glutathione enzymes. It's hard to detox
Can I tell you,
things.
I did the liver cleanse, but nothing came out. And I'm 44, so I probably should, I probably have a lot in there, but I don't, and I did it right. I did it right. It was just like nothing, I mean, not a lot of stones came out at all. And then my friend Matthew, he does the energy healing and stuff. He told me that I should do it again because a lot, maybe he said sometimes the second time more stones come out. But what do you think?
That's
Like,
true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And you did the one where you do the
olive oil
olives.
and lemon, and yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure because some people are like, "Oh, I drank this thing or I took a pill," and it's like, no, that's not the same thing.
I have the
Um,
book called The Liver Gallbladder Flush by Andres Moritz. Like it's
that's the best book. I love that book. We are
yeah.
so tracking. We do have a lot in common. That's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love alternative health. You know what I mean? I love like finding out like things that are gonna help the body and stuff like that. But I mean, my problem is like I'm very like I'm bad with like food. You know what I mean? I'm not very good with like my food choices. And I need to be better on that. You know?
we can all be better. There's always room for improvement, and so don't be too hard on yourself. But I mean, and two, like the choices, like even if you really think you're going organic, like is it really? And it's just hard to find things unless you're growing your own stuff and having your own, cows and meat supply or whatever. And then it's like making sure they're not eating something weird, or chickens or eggs or all that stuff. It's in you study all the stuff I do as far as the air and the way they're growing things now. And it's just a way
Yeah.
different than it was 50 years ago.
I just interviewed a UFC fighter who turned into a he turned into a I haven't posted it yet. He turned into like that's his specialty, like the soil, and his name's Pat Militich. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's specializing in like the way to like revamp our soil, and it seems like it all comes back to the soil, and I feel like with that we could also heal the earth as well, which is what we need to do because we've destroyed the earth so much. So if we go back to doing stuff like that the right way, and from what he said, it's all up from the education system to the farmers, the way they're farming. It's everything. Everybody's been doing things the wrong way. And we're destroying ourselves and we're destroying our earth because our bodies are a direct correlation of what the earth is, supposedly, right? Like, so it's like, we're part of the soil because we come from the soil and then we go to the soil almost, right? It's like, I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking my language. My grandfather, I grew up in Montana on his ranch, and they had 3,000 acres. He was a farmer, and back in the day, they would let soil rest every 7 years. They
Yeah.
would give it. You're supposed to like put nutrients in it, and they're supposed to be amazing minerals and enzymes, and that's because it takes a little bit to adjust. And just like us, we should be resting and have balance. I'm not the best at it, but we all I tend to work a lot. I love my job, and so I tend to go crazy sometimes with the work thing. But yes, soil isn't the same, and if soil doesn't have the minerals and enzymes in it, then whatever you grow in that soil is also not going to have the enzymes in it, and then we're eating that without the enzymes and the minerals in it. So there's a lot of like supplements and things that we can take to kind of offset some of that. But why not go back to doing it right? I think hopefully with Robert Kennedy coming in, there's going to be some changes.
That's what I was hoping for too. I was really hoping for that because that's what he seems to want to focus on. And that's the biggest problem, you know what I mean? It's one of the biggest problems, that and the water, Like I have to go out and buy water every day. I'm constantly, I mean, I don't, because I can't afford like an alkaline or a reverse osmosis machine. So I have to constantly buy alkaline water from the store, which isn't the best, but like it's like, it helps, right? It's better than drinking the tap water, like the tap water. And then my friend bought me an alkaline pitcher, so I use that too sometimes. But what I was gonna say was, what do you have behind you? That looks so interesting. Like your setup looks so interesting. Like,
Which part?
well, it looks like you have a bunch of essential oils, if I could say, what on behind you on the wall. But then closer to
Yeah,
you, it looks like you have like some other products like directly behind you, the stand that your book's on, and then you have like some stuff there for pets. It looks like and other stuff. Like, is that all supplements and stuff like that?
yeah. I do. I work at a rescue, as here, a couple rescues here in town, and I foster kittens, and I have fostered 6 dogs, but I fostered 107 kittens, bottle fed them, and then got them adopted. So I really do love like animals so much. But
That's
yeah, all of
cool.
those things on the walls are essential oils, which I really love, like the frequency of that, and just helping people with aromatherapy and grounding, and oils do so much. And then yeah, my books back there, my card deck, and just some other things back there.
Oh,
I
you
was
have a card deck too.
I do. I have a card deck. It's called Crystals, Oils, and Decrees. And basically, it has well, not all, but a lot of my crystals and like the images of them. Oops, that's the wrong way. Like pictures of the crystals on one side, and then on the back, it'll tell you like what that crystal does. This is Tektite, and it'll tell you all the emotional, physical things about it. And then it has a decree that matches the frequency of that. And then it also has companion oils or essential oils that match the frequency. So it all works together.
Yeah. Do you are you proponent for orgone as well?
Yes. I mean, anything that helps with EMFs and helps bring more stability to the field. I mean, there's a lot of science to people who have like just this disarray, chaotic field, and then you introduce them to something like that, or crystal of some kind. I have crystals around me like all the time.
This is I
Turquoise.
have too. I'm on my desk. Yeah, that's funny. That's cool. Is that shungite?
This is turquoise. This is lapis azul. This is shungite, this big Merkaba one. And I have like an angel quartz here. Yeah, I have quite a few
I
fun.
bought this one at I mean, I have a bunch, but this one is one I can't really identify. That's like a bluish color. It's like a off blue gray. Like, I don't know if you would know what that. Maybe if I could, if I put the
Hard to
white
tell in
light on it.
the light's red, but
Let me see if I can fix the light. Okay, so that's white light now. Let me see if I can. I have the phone shut up. Let me see if I can. Oh wait.
is it an agate?
Oh, maybe that is. Maybe that. Yeah, maybe that is. It's like off blue gray. You know.
Oh, I love agates. That's one of my favorite. What's your
It's,
favorite?
I don't know. I like shungite a lot, because I like to put it in water. And if it's like a clean, you can put it in water. I like to put it in the water, put it out in the sun, and then put water into, like charge it, and then put it in water. I like anything that's going to have a direct effect on my energy field. And I feel like that's what I can do with the shungite. Like
Well, all of them, all of them have some sort of frequency. What I like about the cards, I was actually going to do a book, but what's interesting is I started working with this guy and learning about just the frequency of words and images.
mm,
And when we started testing like these crystals, I would put them in someone's field and they would test like really strong. Sorry about that. My dog's barking. Just enough. Um, they would test really strong, and then when I would take it away, they would go weak. But we would put the card in its place, and they would be just as strong as the actual crystal. And I was like, well, this is easier to carry around. You could stick it in your backpack or put it in your mattress or under your pillow, or bring it in your car for the day, or stick it in a bag or a lunchbox for your kids or something. And people just pick whatever a day and like bring it with them based on whatever their body is pulling them to.
I love that. Yeah. And so let's talk about your book a little bit, The Science of Miracles. What do you talk about in that? Is it more about the bio? Is it more about the biofield and stuff, and how we can kind of hack the biofield?
Yeah, yeah. So it goes into, I had an encounter, and when I came out of the encounter, I just had like just a huge amount of like pictures and imagery and formulas, and I just started putting everything down on paper, and it ended up being a 12-page book. I mean, 12 hours later, it ended up being a 100 and something page book. And I just basically, it goes into creating a more powerful, stronger field in order to attract more. But the big thing is helping people who get caught in those like trauma loops where, you know, you just kind of keep having those same negative experiences over and over. And you're like, oh my God, I thought I fixed that, or I thought I healed that. And then like you get this other narcissist person come along or whatever, cancel clear, or some, you know, some people may like have a 2 steps forward, 1 step back thing with their job, or they're like, you know, they get this job offer and they're like, yay, this is going to happen. And then like at last minute, it doesn't go through. And then they get another job offer and then it doesn't go through, you know, things like that, where it's like the almost, but not quite there thing, you know, program. So we try to go in and it teaches people how to align with the higher frequencies and identify those snags and then clear them and then walk into a whole new path of reality, literally like creating your own reality by default in the positive brainwashing instead of the negative brainwashing, which we know there's a lot of that out there with project, you know, all the projects out there that do those kind of things. But
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like to you like to research that stuff as well, all the black projects and all that stuff?
yeah, so yeah, MK Ultra stuff and you know, all just yeah, all of them are pretty interesting. I love to get all the documents and post them on my website and just let people be aware of what they're doing, you know, like Mockingbird and Bluebird and yeah,
Yeah.
all, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Project Bluebeam, like even ones that like are, and, you know,
Yeah,
and like there's one that they've been talking about recently in the like SSP community. It's called Project Oblivion, where they're, you know, like where they're supposedly like coming after podcasters, like, you know, like Olivia James talks about it. I was on Arkeem Raj show and we were talking about it on there, where they were you know, like they seem to have this plan because I guess we've gotten too our voice has gotten too much out there, so they want to you know, yeah,
well, and then just the whole voice to God tech, like
yeah,
scary, man. Like
it is.
when I was dealing with, you know, I have a small practice and we were dealing with people who were getting the thing. Like a lot of people that I would talk to were like completely against it. I don't want to say it because I don't want to change up the algorithm here, but totally against it, very adamantly against it publicly. And then one day we would just be talking and they would let it slip that they got it. And I'm like, what? And then like it happened again and it happened again. And I'm like, what is going on here? And all of them said the same thing. They said the same exact phrase, that they were just driving down the road and all of a sudden they heard a voice that said, it's okay, just get it. Or they woke up from a dream and okay, just get it or whatever. And it's like, wait a minute, like all of you, like dozens of you all got the same message. And then I realized that was one of the programs. And then they've had like suicide programs. And, you know, I think that's a lot of like the gang stuff, although I think Soros is a lot having to do with, you know, paid people doing it. But I mean, they can just turn on all kinds of switches, just like they do HARP and everything else, to just make a whole city with a certain bloodline, you know, go do a certain thing. And it's just, then there's chaos and fires and cars turned upside down and just drama, you know? So it's
They
scary.
seem to like to do that because they like to keep us divided, you know, and the more they keep us at chaos and like at each other's throats, the less they have to worry about us having an uprising or revolution that would change the world and get them out of power. Because it's exactly like how Billy Carson says how 800 families control, you know, 8 billion people or something like that. You know, it's like it's mind-boggling, you know, like, and that's been in place for thousands of years, you know, ever since the Anunnaki or whatever, like, you know, like they, because they always like they appointed their kings who they wanted to be king, right? Like and that was usually like a demigod or like an offspring of an Anunnaki, and then they that's, you know, followed on throughout time, throughout the bloodlines. Like you have the bloodlines, like the royal bloodlines and stuff like that, and those trace back all the way back to the Middle East, to like to Samaria. You know what I mean? Back into Egypt, the pharaonic bloodlines and shit like that. You know, it's interesting. You know, it's all tied together. It seems like. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And have you ever seen the series 100?
No, what's that?
Oh man. So literally, you know how they have to tell us like everything. Like basically that show is like these people were off planet on this ship and like, you know, Americans that all got recruited to go in space or whatever. And it was like 100 of them. and then all this stuff happened on Earth. So when they came back to it, it was just not the same. And I don't know if it was nuclear war or whatever, but when they came back, they found out like there were a few people left, and there was like two groups of people who were like always pitting against each other. And why they were against each other is because literally there were people underground who would like set up different groups to like sabotage them to make it look like the other group had done something to each other. So they would constantly fight and keep them so preoccupied that they were stealing like kids and people so they could take their blood and live longer, because underground they could live on the stuff that we've heard about. And
The A word, the adrenal. Yeah.
yep, yep. So, and it was like, and then they showed the underground and had all these kids and people in cages and
That
stuff.
sounds about more like real life. You know what I mean?
Right,
It sounds like a series that's based off real life.
right, right. So it's like they have to tell us, because otherwise they have bad karma if you know, if they don't say anything. So they tell us in these like ways to, you know, let us see it and pay for it, and then we watch it, and then it's like, oh well, it's okay because we told you about it, and there's no karma on their end.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this: like, what have you been? What do you like to cover a lot on your? What have you been covering lately on your podcast? And has anything stuck out to you that you really enjoyed? You know, anybody that you really enjoyed interviewing? I could look at your page too and see like who've been you know and see like I don't have it up right now, but yeah. But like, is there any episodes you've done that kind of stick out that you really
Yeah, I mean, I
enjoyed
do a lot
recently?
with Laura Eisenhower. She's one of my best friends, and we do a lot.
Oh, I didn't know. I know I met you then. Is I was because I'm friend. I know her too. I'm not as good. I'm probably not as good friends with her as you, but she's been on my show like 3 times,
Oh
and
wow.
maybe more than that. She's been on my show like 3 or 4 times, and like I was wondering like I was wondering how this podcast got set up because what was interesting was I couldn't find the conversation feed between us anywhere. I couldn't find it in Facebook. I couldn't find it through email. It was like it got completely deleted, and I feel like that's like part of the targeting or something. Sometimes they do that, like whoever they is, I don't know. But I mean, like it's just weird that I couldn't find any trace of our conversation anywhere. But I had you written down on my calendar, so I started looking up your name today, and I was like, okay, I was like, I got to confirm this podcast. And this has been happening to me a lot recently, where I have these podcasts scheduled, and I can't remember how I set up the conversation. I can't remember how I met the person, but somehow it's set up. But I'm glad we did because like you're so interesting, and that's cool. You're really friends. You're good friends with Laura, That's awesome.
Yeah, she and I started. We had this crazy thing that happened with her grandfather. Okay, so you want to hear how we met? It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
not
that's
not
cool.
not weird. So I was leading teaching a conference with another guy named Ian Clayton, and it was October, I think it was the 12th, and I want to say it was like 2000 something, like early 2000. And we had about 400 people there, and I was on stage, and he was sitting next to me, and we were doing kind of like Q&A kind of stuff. And all of a sudden this guy like walks in the back of the conference room, and he's in full on like army gear, hat, like looks like a straight up general. And my first thought was like, what the heck? Because like, I mean, you just don't see people walking in with their hat on and like a full, and it was an old fashioned like army thing. And, my dad was in the service, my son-in-law, my daughter are in the service. So, but this is like an old fashioned kind of like uniform. And my first literally thought in my mind was, who is that? And instantly I heard Eisenhower, and I was like, what? And I thought, well, maybe it's how, it was close to Halloween. So I was like, maybe someone's dressed up, and, my left brain was trying to like make
Rationalize it.
sense. Right. And so I look over at Ian to see if he can see what I'm seeing, because I am just like tripping, and he's seeing it too. And we're both just like, what's going on? And because he's standing, everyone else is sitting, and he's literally walking in front of a whole group of chairs, like in between, there's like a pathway kind of blocking their view. And as soon as I like saw and like looked at him, I looked back, and he was standing there, and all of a sudden, literally, I'm not kidding, it's like he like, the Star Trek thing where like beam me up Scotty. He literally like just beamed away. And I was like, not walked away, not what I was like, what? And so we're both just like, did you see that? We're trying to be cool up there because we're don't want to freak anybody out, but we're also just like, what just happened? And so when it's over, it was, we usually would go back to the house and all the people who are running the conference would all kind of debrief and chat and stuff. And we started talking and I'm like, oh my God, what the heck? And so I'm like wanting to know, I'm like getting on my computer. I'm like, what does Eisenhower look like? Cause I'm so, not history buff. And I was just like, I heard Eisenhower, but what the heck? Like, so I look it up and sure enough, the first thing comes up is like a picture of him in his full straight up like uniform thing. And I didn't even like connect the president. I just saw the first thing was, it was his birthday.
Wow.
So I was like, why would Eisenhower come visit on his birthday? Like, what the heck? All I got was Eisenhower birthday, Eisenhower birthday. So fast forward, like I just shelved it. I'm just like, always a mystery to me. And then one day I was like cleaning. This is like years later. I was cleaning in my house. And you know how you can like put on your YouTube on your phone or whatever. And then like sometimes you get a commercial and you have to go skip.
Yeah.
Or like the one thing will be over and then it automatically goes to like a whole new thing that you didn't even set up, but it just like does this own thing. So I was like listening to something having to do with like all the crazy stuff with the Gaia channel and all the accusations with Gaia and the Corey Good thing and
What do
like
you?
all.
By the way, what do you think? I'd love to hear. I'll let you finish your story, but we should definitely touch on that. I think that's
Yeah,
interesting for sure.
yeah. So I was just like listening to that and the whole like David Wilcox thing and the letter he wrote to them and stuff. And so I'm just like blah blah blah. And then like I kept hitting the commercial and I go over there and like one of the people, it was like a, you know, Brady Bunch group of Zoom people all talking, and one of them was this girl. And I was just like, man, she looks so familiar. Like, I'm trying to think, how do I know this girl? Like, has she been to one of my conferences? Have we traveled together? Was she a conference speaker? Like, I'm just trying to go mentally through like how I know this face.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't come up with it. So I was like, whatever. So I'm cleaning my bookcase, getting rid of all these old books that I don't agree with anymore, and just kind of merging and just getting rid of things and cleaning out. And all of a sudden, like another video pops up, and it happens to be the same girl, and she's sitting on this bench, and it's like across from the bench is like two dudes. I want to say like the Wonder something or something of Wonder or
Edge of
anyway.
Wonder, Ben
Yeah.
Chastain.
Wait, what's it called?
Edge of Wonder, that's Ben Chastain. He was at a conference I was at this summer too. They got kicked off of YouTube, but I think
Yeah.
they're still doing YouTube. But they're really good people. But he used to have a partner, and that he used to do the show with. I'm not sure if he does anymore. I'm not because yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they're interviewing her, this same girl that was in the previous, and they said something like so how was it, in your life, or tell us a little bit about your life or whatever. And then she straight up says like, well, I've been knowing Eisenhower, or I've been talking to Eisenhower since I was 4 years old. And I was like, what? And so now I'm listening because I've still not understood the mystery of this Eisenhower thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she had an encounter with Eisenhower too. And I'm like running to the phone to like see what the heck. And I'm watching it, and I remember like her body language was like she was uncomfortable and just a little bit whatever. And I study body language and conscious language. So I was like thinking in my mind, like, I would love to help coach her on some of this, because before it was just a little square of her head and now it's like her body and she's doing all these things. And I was just like, it was whatever, but I was still like, who is this chick? And so then they said something like, well, how is it to grow up in the family of the Eisenhowers or whatever, which I wasn't connecting because she referred to him as Eisenhower, not like my grandfather, my great grandfather. She just said, well, I've been talking to him since 4 years old. So I was like, wait a minute, she's an Eisenhower? So anyway, now I'm like, okay, so I run to my computer and I like Google Laura Eisenhower, and it comes up like her website, and it had like this thing where she could do like astrology readings and stuff, which I had never had one in my life at that point. Matter of fact, I was told just from Bible school and stuff like that's the devil and blah blah blah, which is BS. But anyway, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, I've never done it before. I'm just going to go for it. Like, I'm going to follow the path, follow the breadcrumbs and like see what this is about. And so I like set it up and I like plugged it all in. And then I get this email like saying, confirmation or whatever. And when the confirmation comes back, it shows a 406 number and the city that she lives in. And I'm like, oh my God, I live in the same city in the same state. And I'm like, no freaking way. Like, she lives right by me. And so I'm like, there's no way, there's no way. So, and then I realized that the time that I had set it up, I was actually going to be driving to Destin that day. And I never had a reading before. So I was like, well, do I need to take notes? Do I need a notebook? Is this going to be a bad thing to do to try to drive and listen? Or do I need to be participating? And I was just kind of confused. So I go back and I email her because it said, like, if you have any questions or something come up, please let me know. So I respond to her and I'm like, hey, I just set this up, but I realize I'm going to be driving at that time. Is there any way we can change the time? Blah, 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 blah. And then I call her on the number that said, if you have any problems, call. And I call her. So then I go back to her computer and realize there's a place that you can like reschedule. So I reschedule it and it's set up for 3:30 on September 14th in Montana, which is where I'm from and where I was born. And then I like go sit down in my living room and I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't even realize it, but I'm getting a reading from Laura Eisenhower on my birthday at my birth time because I was born at 3:33 and I had picked 3:30, which is as close to 3:33 as you can get, from a girl who lives up the street from me in Montana, Eisenhower. And then I kept remembering Eisenhower birthday. And I was like, holy shit. And so I'm just sitting there. I call my friend Jason Westerfield. I'm like, oh my God, dude, I'm getting this astrology reading, blah, blah, blah. This thing with Laura Eisenhower, blah, blah. You remember that thing? Because he's friends with Ian. I'm like, remember the Eisenhower thing? And he was there for that. And he was like, oh my God. He was like, you know what? I'm doing a meeting with her in Dallas in a few weeks. We're doing a conference together. And I was like, what? I was like, I have to be there. And he was like, well, I mean, I'm not in charge of it. Only 33 people can go. It's like a small and like intimate thing. I'm like, 33 people. I was born at 33. Like, I have to be there. Like, I'm tripping. And all of a sudden, while I'm on the phone with Jason, my phone rings in my hand. And I look and it's a 406 number. And it's freaking Laura calling me. And so I pick up on I'm like, Jason, I got to go. It's Laura. So I click over and I'm like, hey, Laura, like, I know you're doing the thing with Jason, in a few weeks. And like, I have to be there. And, do you care if I could be there? And also like your grandfather came to me on his birthday. I'm just like, I'm like fire hosing her with information. And she's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Can you afford to go? Like, do you have money to get there? I was like, yes, I could get there. And she's like, well, sure, come on. And so my husband and I went and I brought some friends and like we connected and like we've been besties like ever since. It's really weird. But yeah, Eisenhower birthday. Like, and then she did my reading and we just came back. We led a retreat in Destin, Florida a week and a half ago. And it was cool because when she did my reading, I was actually going to Destin. And that's why I had to change the time because I want to make sure I wasn't driving. And we were sitting there at the retreat and I was like, oh my God, this is the same room where you gave me my first astrology reading. Like,
I think
what?
my friend Matthew was there too. Matthew Mornian, do you know that?
It was a girls retreat, but
Oh, it was
yeah,
a girl. Okay, because there was another event in Florida. I know
yeah,
he was at. There was like a.
he did another event too. And she actually left our retreat and did something somewhere else. And he was probably there. Yeah. And I love
Okay.
Matthew. I know Matthew. He's been on my show. I've been on his show. He's cool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, yeah. I consider him. I consider them both good friends. That's yeah. That's awesome. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I
We
can't
know a
believe
lot of the same
Mr.
people.
Eisenhower. That's I truly believe he came to you too. Like that's things don't. I think there's reasons why stuff like that happens.
Super cool.
Yeah. Let me see if anybody has any questions in the audience. Um, yeah. Anybody else? Well, we were getting. We were getting into the Gaia thing. What did you think about that? Like, did you looked into it and like, It was kind of weird, right? That Corey Good came out with all that
I
information,
don't
and
know. It's
yeah,
hard. I mean, I did some stuff with him and he's been on my show in the past and like we don't do anything anymore. And I don't know. I think it was a catalyst, for a lot of people to wake up and to like dig into something and look into some things, but I don't buy it. Like I think there was, I mean, just talking to Jay and some of the others, like it just seems like there's a lot of evidence against the whole thing. But what do you think?
I think he had some real stuff happen to him, and then I think there was a point where it got out of control, and he started spinning lies. That's really what I
Yeah.
think happened. I think he had a real experience, but then and he was coming out with real information, but then he started getting big, and he started telling lies. I think, I don't know. Because he had
Yeah.
to say in court that he never went to space and stuff like that, or Corey especially, supposedly. But I don't know what that was all about. That was it was weird. You know,
Yeah. And then I mean, who knows? I know Matthew and Laura did a lot of like a whole series together, and Matthew was really heading up some stuff, trying to expose some things. And, who knows? And who cares? Everybody's just where they're at and doing, as long as, so my thing is don't harm other people, don't try to trick anyone, like have good intent. And I mean, there's an argument that maybe he had to say that in court because he didn't want to look crazy, or I don't know. I
yeah, that's
personally,
true.
I
Yeah,
personally, yeah, I think that maybe there was a lot of stuff. And, Jay says that his manuscript that he was writing was completely stolen and like missing, and like it was verbatim, like the story that he was giving. I don't know. It's, like I said, I've done stuff with him and he's been on my show. And
he was cool with you. He was really cool.
I mean, he was just normal. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything or heard anything from him in a long time. I don't know where he went or what if he's doing anything. I just haven't followed it.
Yeah, he seems like he seems like he had good intentions, though. Do you feel the same? What do you think about Wilcock? Do you think he's?
He's interesting, isn't he?
Yeah,
And he's definitely knowledgeable. I mean, he's got a high IQ. He's a little bit different. Um, he's funny, and he kind of reminds me of like the Michael Scott of Disclosure, of just how
Mm.
he doesn't mean to be funny, but he's kind of funny. But he definitely has a lot of information, and I don't really follow him either. I just kind of try to, I don't know. I don't rely a whole lot on like outside. I try to go inside as much as possible and just rely on source here.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to ask you one more question about the biofield. So you feel like we can hack the biofield to where it can give us like more abundance and more money and stuff like that? Like, you think
Like,
you can use the genius for that? Like, you can actually program the genius for that?
yeah, yeah. Because one of the things I say, Robert, is you can't pee in the pool and hope it doesn't get everywhere. There's not a smoking section. Like if one area of your life is screwed up, it affects everything. And so
Yeah.
if there's negative parts in the field, that also affects abundance and, creating wealth. So if we can clear, maybe there's some programs stuck in there from like great grandma who tried to start a business, or grandfather who started a business and then it didn't work. And then, you know, somehow that's like encoded into the DNA, then we can clear that, because you can have all the like thought processes that are positive success and speak all these things and do all the right things. But then if you have negative equations in there, you're kind of getting that purgatory, that energetic purgatory thing where you get stuck. And I like to find where we can unstuck people and clear them so they're not just getting money and abundance and opportunities and all those things, but they're feeling healthy and, having good experiences with friends and, other things. And like parasites, for example, if someone has parasites physically, parasites actually have their own energy and that goes into the field. So if they project into the field, which they do, a lot of chaotic energy, and also it sends a signal that that person is a good host or a good victim, then you have victim energy in the field. And guess what happens? People who are more subject to taking advantage of others will come in your life, or come in someone's life, cancel clear, and then you're dealing with those patterns, and it's like, you know what, let's clear all that and like get rid of parasites, get rid of fungus, get rid of just some of the physical 3D things that are sending those projections. And then all of a sudden we have different matches because we can only get what we are. So let's make something really clear and positive and present that, and then get matches to that.
I like that. And then it has an effect on the overall biofield, and then you see changes in your life that are like more positive.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all
That's
math. It's just equations, right?
yeah, yeah. And so is there anything else you wanted to tell us about your book or anything like that before we finish up for today? Like, I'll kind of give you the floor and like, and yeah, yeah, that'd be
Yeah. You guys can find this book, The Signs of Miracles there. I also have a keto book, which I don't know if you guys have ever tried keto, but it's pretty cool. Or carnivore or something like that. I have my card deck there. I have workshops on my website. I have 3 other books that we didn't even talk about on my website. I have grounding devices. I have tech devices. I'm a big proponent of physical biohacking, whether it's through lasers or red light therapy or ozone therapy. I love teaching people how to do ozone in their own homes. Um, but my podcast is every Thursday at noon. What else? I'm on all the major social media stuff: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. But if you guys heard anything that you're like, hey, that was cool or whatever, I love platforms like this because I usually, I don't have to leave my house and I get to talk to a lot of people at once. Not having to pay for planes and hotels and leave my family. But I also really, really miss like conference settings where we can hug and meet and sign books and like hear your story. So if anything stuck out to you, or you guys had questions, or if you're interested in doing a biofeedback scan or consultation, hit me up on Facebook or one of those platforms and just say, hey, I saw your show and just wanted to say hi, and I'll send you good vibes and we can set up a consultation or just whatever. But yeah, my website, drsharnael.com, and my podcast is Dr. Sharnael True TV. And I think that's it. But you guys have been awesome. You're awesome, Robert. I love your work and I love what you're doing. I appreciate you so much.
thanks. You know what I wanted to ask you about real quick before we finish up? I wanted to ask you about ozone, and then also if you want to promote your other books. I didn't know you had 3 other books. Like, if you want to talk about them real quick, and then also, I'm so interested in ozone and red light therapy, like how they work, and because I've heard the ozone's good for like all kinds of stuff, because it's oxygen supposedly, and like when we get more oxygen, it works, it does something to our body, right?
Absolutely. So it's O3 instead of O2, and it basically sends like a little bit extra charge to the mitochondria to not only clear it but allow it to absorb more oxygen, and it increases ATP, so that helps like with energy, to give you more energy and doing anything. A lot of people who come in will express that they have better performance if they're like working out or running or whatever, that they can do better. I've had a lot of stuff with, I can't say all the stuff that it does on YouTube because they say that it's misinformation, but a lot of things that it does to help like support the body and the wellness of a person. Um, I could list all the diseases that it works with, and it's really easy to have it at home, like just to work with it, or if you're local, then we can do sessions. I have a private practice where we have hyperbaric, red light, ozone, biofeedback. But the biofeedback I can do long distance, so no matter wherever you are, if you want to set up an appointment for that, we can do that. But yeah, I love ozone, and red light is amazing too, because we are subjected to so much blue light, all of this light with screens everywhere all the time. And it's really affecting like our energy and our concentration and, our blood and our cholesterol and our insulin and lots of things. And so some people will get like blockers on their phone or wear special glasses. Those are really good ideas. But red light or just sun gazing in the morning when the sun comes up, or sunset, that's a big help. My other books are Keys to Third Heaven and the Seer's Handbook, and then I have one called oh God, what am I listening? What I'm thinking? It has to do with signs and wonders, and why am I not thinking of it? I can't even think of my own book right now. But anyway, they're all on my website, and yeah.
Wow, that's
Thank you for
awesome.
asking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this today. And yeah, I love this. And I'm gonna post it on the audio feed now, and then maybe to Rumble a little bit later. And yeah, and thank you. This was really awesome.
Thank you so much. Send me a link, and I'll share it, and we can get it out. And appreciate you so much and your service and your work. And we know a lot of the same people. That's so cool. I had no idea that we were in the same like realm of people. That's cool.
It is. It really is. I like that. Yeah. I don't know, friends. Are you on Facebook too?
Yeah, yeah. I'm on Facebook, so
Yeah, I'll
look.
friend you on Facebook. I know I might be at the limit or whatever. I don't know. Because I accept a lot of friends. Some of those people don't even follow me. It's like it's weird. It's like I have like 5,000 Facebook friends, but I only have like 1,000 followers. I'm like, why? I don't know. Why did I accept all these friends? Some of these people I don't even know. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? So I have to go in and like clear some out to just like get new people in. I don't know. It's hilarious.
Actual friends. Yes, actual. If your friend requests me, then I will knock somebody off and add you to mine, and we could be actual friends.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, I'll see you soon, Dr. Sharnael, and thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day. Make it great, and I'll see you guys somewhere around somewhere. But
Yeah.
thanks for your time.
And I just want to say, guys, I have another show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. I have Ron Murphy coming on from Pennsylvania. He's going to be talking about the paranormal and stuff like that. So it's going to be a good show. And yeah, and thank you, Dr. Sharnael, and I'll be seeing you soon. All right, guys.
Awesome.